Hi everyone. Okay, I'm gonna try this again. Let's see. Gonna try and get Kristin to join me on this live so we can finally. It's gonna help us. So come say hi. Hi. This is Ellie,
Hey,
human
Kristin.
coach, and I've got here the wonderful Kristin. Sorry, go ahead and introduce yourself.
No, I think we're talking over each other because of the connection.
Oh, maybe. Can you hear me? Okay.
I can, but I think there's a lag, so I'm sorry I talked over you. Go ahead. Say your intro.
No, go ahead. I was just saying. Oh, yeah, I can see that there's a lag, so I'm gonna try and talk slowly. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Kristin.
Oh, hi, I'm Kristin Taylor. I'm an author, manifestation coach, energy healer, angel expert. I do a lot of different things. So nice to be here with Ellie. And I think I cut off your titles. So did you
My
did you
child.
or did you finish introducing yourself? I feel bad. I feel like I cut you off.
I think we're gonna. I think this is, it's a great introduction because it does show the power of coming on a live despite all the tech gizmos that are happening around us. So I'm Ellie. I'm a heart attunement coach and energy healer as well. And hi, Nancy. Thanks for joining. And here with the wonderful and gifted Kristin Taylor to talk about how to regain your sovereignty in your current reality. And I'm sure that you're all kind of curious. What is sovereignty? Why should I even bother about regaining my sovereignty? What on earth is that? Haven't we got enough problems on this planet?
Mhm.
So, so it's a very interesting topic, right? Because it's not talked about in in so many ways, but it's key because really regaining sovereignty is about taking your power back, taking your energies back, taking your intentions back, and really making of your life whatever it is that you wish it to be, whatever it is that you wish it, whatever you desire it to be from the heart. And that might seem like, oh yeah, okay, but it is actually a big deal. It is
Mhm.
because, so many of us over the years, at least I can speak for myself, from my personal animation, so many of us have lost track of what that is, and we've lost focus so many times. We got so distracted by so many things that happened to us. And so, you know, many of us find ourselves in a space where we have to take so many detours, we get to so many dead ends. And so it's important to sort of, you know, kind of reset that spiritual compass and say, who am I really? What it is that I want, what it is that I desire, and where's my power in all of this, especially, right?
Mhm.
What is the power that I have in this massive quantum soup that is creation? Because I
Mhm.
know more often than not, let me know if this resonates with you, but more often than not, people go into this sort of kind of desperate state where they think, oh, what can I possibly do? I'm only one person,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
But we have within ourselves the cells of the creator, the cells of creation. So we're just as powerful as the sky that sits on top of us. We're
Mhm.
just as large as the sea. But more
Mhm.
often than not, people like myself, like I used to do years ago, we get caught into sort of victimhood state where we think that everything happens to us and our powers are limited to everything else, so the powers that are. Let me
Mhm.
know what you think.
Well, I grew up very religious, and I think that really plays into this for me, that I grew up feeling like I had to pray and then I didn't get answered most of the time. Just what happened to me. I don't know. I think people do get answers to prayers. I guess I did sometimes, but it was very much a hit and miss and very victimy. It felt to me, and I'm not knocking anybody's religion. Everybody has a right to choose what they want, but that was the tradition I grew up in, and it may have just been my family that looked at it that way, especially. But I felt like we weren't empowered. I didn't feel like we were sovereign. I felt like we were always asking for things to this big God that could grant it or not grant it according to kind of how good we were, like little kids. And it's been a journey for me to come into the role of being a healer, of the journey I've been on, like you said, not being a victim, seeing ourselves as the creator and the God of our own reality, not to say anything blasphemous against creator God, which is, all that is and source. But we're also, like you said, we are also powerful, and in our own power, we can create our own realities. And that's been a long process for me to come to that conclusion. And I came to it in stages. I came to it, like my very early energy work was still kind of in that paradigm of asking energies or, spirits, or in this case, angels. I work with angels I still work with angels, but I work with them in a different way now. It's more like colleagues, like very amazing colleagues, but I mean, I'm proud of my colleagues, but I'm not asking them to do it for me. Like I feel like I'm definitely creating my life. So I don't know how that resonates with you, but that's kind of my take on all of that.
Yeah, I can thank you for this. I can certainly relate 100% because I too was brought up with a religious background, right? I went through communion and all the rites when I was a little girl, when I was a teenager, and he never really sat well with me. And it's not to say anything bad about religion, but it was all the fear around it, that someone that was already as fearful as I was as a child, because I was an introvert and very
Oh,
insecure around people. So they made it even worse because I always thought, oh my goodness, if I'm doing this, I feel guilty about this. And, oh my goodness, I'm going to go to hell instead of going to heaven. So it was always a sort of checking in with everything I was doing, thinking, okay, this is hell, this is heaven, this is purgatory. Okay, let's go somewhere in the middle. But in reality, there was a lot of guilt that I felt. And I think a lot of people feel the same way, because when you try to do something for yourself that is from the goodness of the heart, it is so easy to go into the space where you feel guilty about it because, oh no, you're going after, abundance of money. Oh, you shouldn't have that because so many other people don't have that. Oh, you
mhm.
shouldn't go for a partner and get married because guess what? Other people don't have that. You shouldn't move to a country that really inspires you, where your heart is, where you know that by being in that country or being in that city, you really are going to resonate with that community. Oh no, you should be happy to be where you are. So there's a lot of the element and the feeling of guilt that was played on me since I was a child. And I can still see this in so many people,
And
especially people that are,
the fear is real.
yeah, yeah. And I completely agree with someone that is beginning to kind of navigate through, the waters of spiritual and physical sovereignty, and saying, you know what, I want to try and be more myself. But with all these feelings of guilt and being shamed about wanting to be someone more than they are, or desiring something else that they are not at the moment, it is a big barrier really to break.
I
So
agree.
it's, yeah, and obviously it comes from, a piles of bricks of, the conditioning that we've had as children, and from our ancestors as well. But
So
that's
many,
why that.
so many
Go ahead.
rules. Oh, sorry, this is lag. There's so many rules and conditioning. I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why, the idea of being sovereign. And let me know what you think. It is, for me, it has been a process of self-discovery, because ever since I began changing, when I had this major illness 13 years ago, and that's really when I started questioning, who am I? Is this the life that I really want? Is
Hmm.
this really where I see myself? the next 10 years. And that's when I sort of started sort of pulling all the threads and really peeling the layers of the proverbial onion one by one, because it is by degrees. I feel that it has to be by degrees, because if you've never been in a Ferrari or a Lamborghini and you've never really manned a super fast car, a sports car, all of a sudden you put your foot on the accelerator and boom, you're running at 120 miles an hour, and if you're not an expert pilot, you're going to crash. So that's why I feel that it's important to do this by degrees, to allow one little thing to come to you, one moment of realization, one little leap in consciousness that you can take in and integrate in your daily life, so that it gets you closer to becoming who you are, because every day you become a new person, right? And then sit with it and see how it sits, and then keep moving forward.
Yeah, I agree with the happening little by little. I think for me, it did happen little by little, and in my healing practice, I would see a lot of miracles, a lot of healings, and I started to become more sovereign in my own life. And I personally feel, this may be a belief, maybe a limiting belief, but I personally feel like the system is against sovereignty, like the earth. We have to really be confident. We have to really be strong in ourselves and stand up against a lot. And then you become sovereign in certain areas, and then there's certain areas. I mean, I think I told you the story offline about the other night. I was in this area where I don't personally believe that it's easy to find a parking, and my friend does, and she got a parking straight away, and I didn't ever get a parking. She gave me hers in the end, and we moved her car. And like, I wasn't sovereign about parking in that area. It was like, I'm creating my reality. I'm gonna park, I'm gonna have a parking. And it's just silly things like that you find, oh, I guess I'm not sovereign in this area. And sometimes we have to walk a line where we still are sovereign, but we are taking expert advice from people, like if we need doctors or we need, medical care, we still have to get the medical care we need, or a client needs, that I advise them to do that. But you have to, there's a stance with sovereignty. You don't want to give up your sovereignty, but you still need the expert advice. So it's a complicated topic, and it does involve lots of layers, and it does develop over time. And the more, what you were saying about becoming your true self, the more you become sovereign, in my experience, the more I feel like the person I was meant to be. I feel like my true self, like my true essence. But it's a very brave act.
Yes, it's for the courageous. You're absolutely right. It's for the brave, because once you embark on this journey, it is a continuous journey of self-discovery. And as you were saying, it's about understanding exactly why we create these self-imposed beliefs, why we buy into these beliefs that, oh yeah, I can be sovereign for one thing, but I can't be sovereign for something else. So it's only going to work for something. So for instance, when it comes to money, no, it's not going to work, because the
Hmm.
surrounding reality that I'm in, it's as good as it gets. Well, why is there that belief?
Hmm.
Why, and I hear this a lot, especially in the health environment, right?
Hmm.
And absolutely, I agree with you about the fact that if someone feels called to speak to a specialist, fair enough, they should, right? But at the same time, I hear so many in the field of health, people that are suffering, and some therapists as well saying, well, actually, this is as good as it gets for this person. This is as good as it gets with this condition. So
Yeah,
we
exactly.
are sort of we are limiting ourselves. And if I think of a sovereign, right? If I think of a king or a queen, she doesn't need approval. That's how
Hmm.
I see a sovereign. I see someone that will go out there and say, you know what, I'm interested in exploring this area. And despite all the oppositions that comes to her or to him, she'll
Hmm.
still say, I don't need your approval to go and find out for myself,
Hmm.
right? Maybe when I get to the other end, I find that this is really not what I wanted, and I'll something else. but
Mhm.
I don't over. I can just go and do it. And to me, that is standing in your power to sort of explore what are the ways that you can find to improve your life, to feel good about yourself, to improve your health, to change your relationships, whatever that is important to you.
Mhm.
Kim says for the brave, 100% the brave. Yes, I like that.
Yeah,
Thanks,
exactly.
Kim.
Hi, Kim. Yeah, I agree. And for me, when I've had health issues in my life in the past, I I'm like, thank you for the treatment. If I need the treatment, I need the treatment. But I always kind of hold back a piece of myself for I'll heal this if I want to. And maybe I haven't healed it yet, but I will heal it. And that's because I know healing works and that's my job. But yeah, I think you're right. I think you always have to hold a piece of your own autonomy. Make your own decisions. What works for you. I always encourage my clients to have their medical treatments that are recommended to them. As you know, as healers, we're not doctors. But it's good to be autonomous, you know?
Yeah, and I completely agree with what you just said. I mean, as long as it feels really good from the heart, as long as your heart is behind it, and you're not going to have any regrets, you're not going to feel guilty, you're not going to feel ashamed about having made a decision, as long as you're not looking for approval, as long as you feel really good about it, what's there to say that that isn't the right decision? Because at the end of the day, even a specialist, if I speak to a mentor or if I speak to a teacher of mine, yeah, of course they're going to direct me. But at the end of the day, I am the only one that knows really what is in my heart. So their job is not to tell me, do this because for you it's going to be better. No, it's going to be, this is what has worked for me and I can help you there. But at the end of the day, you're going to be the one that has to flap your own wings in a
Mhm.
way. And
Mhm.
that's a powerful thing that I think both you and I are very good at instilling in our clients. The idea that we're not doing the work for them, we're helping them to do their own work so they can in turn flap their wings, because we're not there to flap it for them, but we can show them what to do so that they can get there.
I think that's really powerful as a healer that we both have that approach to empower our clients and not encourage dependency. I think that's really a good point.
Yeah.
And also, I know that we both teach our clients to get in touch with their bodies and learn the lessons their bodies and messages from their bodies. This is all very, very good for serenity. It leads to a real empowerment, don't you
Yeah,
think?
totally. Because it's my problem 13 years ago when I became very ill was exactly that. It was
Really?
only then hit me that I was completely disconnected from my body. And even though I felt that I had a power job in the city, that I had a really busy social life, that I really made it to be God knows who I thought I was going to be at that time, I realized then that I was totally disconnected from my reality, because my reality was my physical body and my physical body was there and I was somewhere here.
Hmm.
So I had to basically make friends with my body. I had to
Hmm.
start listening to what my body was trying to tell me, the messages, that the sort of encoded signals that had been trying to send me for the past decade, and that I had conveniently ignored.
Hmm.
And now they were literally in my face. And
Yeah, if
that's
you
when I
don't
sort of
listen, you'll be
realized,
forced to listen, right?
yeah, yeah. I'm sure you feel the same, but with my experience and the clients that I've served, the danger of not doing that is that the messages get louder and louder and louder
Yeah,
until
when
you
I
get to
left,
the point.
oh, go on.
Until, I was going to say, until you get to the point where you can no longer afford to ignore them and you have to listen whether you like it or not. And that is not a happy state to be in, because you have to deal with them with the emotional upheaval that comes with
Mhm.
feeling sick, being immobile, not being able to look after your children, not being able to be there for your partner, feeling that your partner has to take on all the extra workload for you because you can't leave the house. And then on top of that, you are there thinking, what on earth is happening with my body? So it's
Hmm.
double whammy in a way.
Hmm. Yeah, when I was working in a law firm, I used to, I think everybody knows that follows me. I used to be a corporate lawyer, but for anybody who's new, that's what I used to do. And it just wasn't the right fit. I was deeply unhappy, and I got to the point where my back was hurting and I couldn't walk normally. And then I left that job and I started to recover. So it is interesting the messages that we get. And one of the things that we do, Ellie, is we help the clients hear those messages, right? When they're not able to themselves, and we teach them how to tune in themselves as well.
Yeah. Yes. And you know, it is really about there is, you know, let me know if this resonates with you as well, because the one thing that I remember when I started working this way, it terrified me to have to slow down because I was so used at moving and doing things, and I was never really tuning in with myself, which it kind of implies that you slow down, you forget about what happens to the outside world, and you just listen to yourself. That for me was such a foreign concept, right? Because I was moving all the time at 100 miles an hour, whether I was at work, whether I was doing sport, whether I was going out with people. I was always moving, moving, moving. And when my body just gave in, I had to slow down completely.
Hmm.
And for me, that was such a foreign concept. But it only by slowing down and tuning in and seeing what I was feeling in my body, see how my emotions were, that's when I realized the power that I wasn't actually slowing down. I was actually doing things a lot faster because instead of taking so many different detours, my route was clearer, right?
Hmm.
I was beginning to clear the clouds on the horizon as well. So it may feel like you're slowing down or even stopping, but in the end, it actually gives you a clearer route because you're more connected. You get more synchronicities. So you get more people to help you along the way. You know, you connect to the right people. You begin to get the
Yeah.
messages from the universe that are there to
Hmm.
support you. That before they were just like bypassing me completely. So I think this is a myth, you know, and I think this is really key about becoming a sovereign because, you know, a lot of people are afraid of slowing down, thinking, God knows I can't slow down. I've got so many things to do in my day. You know, I've got to look after my children. I've got to pick them up. I've got to cook for my husband. I've got to look after my parents. And then on top of that, I have to slow down. Are you kidding me? No way. But
Yeah.
this is the myth.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. I think that that's interesting to think about the hidden benefits of staying numb, of, bypassing your emotions that, when you start to feel them, it might feel overwhelming. But then you start to be more authentic and you're actually your real self. But yeah, there is a boom factor or, a bomb exploding factor, like at the beginning when you start to really pay attention to yourself. I think it is scary. I remember that being scary. I really, really, really wanted to stay in my legal job. I wanted to just be normal. I didn't want to be psychic. I didn't want any of this really. And for me, that's how it took shape, was paying attention to who I really am, was the path that it took for me. And it's been, as you say, like coming up in layers since then. But yeah, I can see where there's benefits to being in that go, 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 the corporate job. You're not paying attention. I don't have time to feel. And then you come to further along your path, and I've really gotten into creating my reality intentionally with manifesting and timeline jumping. And of course, I work with Archangel Metatron and my guides. But you can go to the other extreme, which is wonderful. It sounds like a bad thing, but it's wonderful, where you're actually curating and creating your life. Um, and it's still important to not bypass your emotions. I think it's always important to process. I always tell my clients, if something is coming up for you, sit with it, accept it, love it. If you have resistance coming up, love your resistance. Don't try to change it. Just sit with it. I think you always have to process your emotions. You always have to sit with your feelings as a human being. But you can also get into this space where you're creating intentionally, which has been a lot of fun for me. I've been teaching classes on this and I really do enjoy it.
Yeah, just because you feel their emotions, it doesn't mean that it's going to take you forever to feel them, and that's all you're going to be able to do in your day. And
Hmm.
it's really about loving yourself for who you are, because we're all vulnerable. We all have our insecurities. We all have our weaknesses. There is no such thing as a Huberman, like Nietzsche was saying. We are Huberman in a way, and Huber women.
Hmm.
Because we are the sovereign is, every queen and every king, they have their insecurities. That's why they have their confidence. That's why they have a support group to help them out. They're not expected to do everything in one go, but it's opening up to the possibility that you can feel different,
Hmm.
that and it's about opening up to the belief that you can have a different life, that you can
Yeah.
release those emotions, that you can transmute those emotions, that you're
Hmm.
not constantly stuck in that state.
Yeah, I agree with you that it's not going to take that much time. If you really dig in and express your emotions, you process it. It's very, my clients are surprised how quick it goes. And the other point I
Yeah.
would make on what you just said is that my clients are always asking me if they're ever going to reach a point when they're healed while they're incarnated. And my personal opinion is yes, we can be healed. We get closer and closer and we feel better and better. And you can choose to be the best, most healed, most vibrant person of your version of yourself. And will you still have lessons? Yeah, of course. We're in the earth plane, but you can be in this super happy, super healthy, super vibrant, dynamic state. And I really think it's important for people to know that this isn't just never ending. Like we can become our best selves in this body. We don't. Some people have been. Some clients have told me they're afraid they're going to go to the other, like they're going to die if they reach their best selves. They're not going to be here anymore. You're still going to be here. You'll just be more in a guidance capacity. I don't know how that resonates with you, but that's my personal view. That we're here
Oh,
to
I wish I could be there.
best self.
I wish I could be there, to be honest, like an ascended master. I'd love it. I'm sure they have their work cut out for them anyway. I don't think they have a jolly good time up there. I'm sure they have their own, their hands full, but
Everybody has their
it
path.
I know for me it's going to be a bit of a journey to get to an ascended master, put it this way. I've got a lot of work to do, but I
Well, I don't
totally
think we're
agree.
trying to be ascended masters, but we can be the best versions of ourselves as incarnated humans.
Yeah, and this is really what it means to be sovereign, right? No one is going to ask anyone to be perfect, to know everything, to know it all. This is not what it is about being sovereign, because any queen on this planet, they don't know everything. That's why they rely on a support group. That's why they rely on people that can support them.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So it is important to sort of understand that from your insecurities, you can draw strength. They're not weaknesses for you to hide, because the longer you hide them, the more subconscious blocks you put in yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
probably your body's going to start screaming at some point and tell you, hey, it's time for you to pay attention. But it's a way for you to actually look at your insecurities and actually draw strength from them. Because at the end, when you're insecure, you become a beacon of light. You start drawing people to you because people see that you have no fear of showing your insecurities, and you actually become a drawing force in the world because they're going to share the same with you. That's how you bond with people.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is a miracle of being a sovereign, that you really start accepting yourself for who you really are.
Yeah,
And
you accept
yes, it's a
every
process.
weaknesses
Yeah.
or what you view
Yeah.
as weakness,
Pardon?
what they view, what we view as weaknesses.
Hmm.
We
Yeah.
just to accept everything with love. It's so much easier to shift. I was just helping a client with excess weight issues, and she hated herself because of this extra weight. And I had to explain to her, or I did explain to her that nothing shifts out of hatred or shame or guilt or heavy energies. It always shifts out of acceptance and love. And you can't shift it with the expectation that, because she said to me, she said, if I give myself acceptance and love, can I then get the weight off? I said, it doesn't work like that. It can't be conditional. You have to completely accept and love yourself. So it's just so important to, there's a chapter in my second book about guns to the head, and my guide, Archangel Metatron, talks about that we shouldn't let anything be a gun to our head, like excess weight or, anything that we're scared of, that we're afraid of facing, like self-confidence or anything really. We shouldn't let it stop us from moving forward. We should embrace it and love it. I think that's really important.
And I actually love what you said about embracing it fully from the heart, because you can, as you were giving the example of your client saying, well, if I do that, then can I get that?
Yeah.
That is very conditional thinking. That is not unconditional love. But the thing is, what I always say to my clients is that you can't cheat the
Yeah, you
creator.
can't cheat,
The
can you?
creator knows, you can cheat your best
No.
friend or your partner or even your mentor or your teacher and say, yeah, I've done that. It's all done.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
in reality, the creator knows what is in your heart. You can't cheat nature, you know. And
Yeah.
so if this is the thing, it's an important thing, I think, for anyone to stop whenever they're feeling something and saying, oh yeah, okay, I'm doing this affirmation to manifest this, but really, how do I feel right now? Does it feel right? And is it okay for me to say, this doesn't feel right? I'd rather feel this way. Can you accept yourself unconditionally feeling that way in that moment?
hmm
Because this is the path to sovereignty.
Everything's okay. All the
Yeah,
feelings, all the emotions, all the weaknesses, all the insecurities, all the vulnerabilities, everything in your past, everything's okay. Everything's loved, it's a good thing to tell yourself at all stages of your life. Imagine telling yourself you are loved, safe, and chosen. Like you've always been chosen, you've always been loved, you've always been guided. And that's so much
yeah,
the part of the sovereign path is to guide yourself, guide the younger parts of you, give yourself the guidance you always needed and you didn't get. And I think that really helps as well.
yeah, yeah. Because we stop sort of kind of bathing into the energy of the wounded child, and we actually take care of the inner child wounds that we had. So we
hmm
step into the role of the adult and nurture ourselves and take care of those of that pain
hmm
and really hold ourselves. And just reading what Kim was saying, we start to become sovereign when we recognize who we are and that we are part of the source of creation. Yeah, I love that.
Oh,
I
that's really
love
beautiful.
that. I love that. Completely accept and love yourself as you are, where you are, and change will come in divine. Yeah, absolutely. Divine timing. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's really
Absolutely. And
beautiful.
why shouldn't it? Yeah. As long as
I
it's
think
done from the goodness of the heart, why shouldn't it?
I think it's really like she's talking about just going back to the feeling that we are God. It sounds blasphemous, but when you think about it, we are part of creation. We are creators. And I think that's really beautiful to not just be an extension of creation energy, but be creation energy. I love that because then we can just do whatever we want, for the good of all.
And and you know what, Kristen, about the scary thing that so many people that I hear so many people talk about, including some of my clients, is, well, how can I possibly make this happen? This feels really scary because I can do anything I want. Oh, this feels a bit too far-fetched. Now, I actually spoke to a client last week about this, and this is what I said to her. Imagine if the creator, right? The creator supposedly created everything in creation. Imagine if it turned out one day sitting at the table and said to himself, do you know what? I don't know if I can create this planet. I don't know if I can create the sky. Do you know what? It seems a little bit too far-fetched.
You're big.
What the sea, the birds. Geez, I don't know. I mean, do you know, I don't think I can. What can I possibly do? What can I possibly do? Imagine
Yeah,
that.
yeah, exactly. And the other thing that people can think about is you don't have to start like I was teaching a manifesting class and one of my students was very concerned about manifesting something that would be bad for other people. But you don't have to go full throttle. You can put in controls like I manifest for the good of all, I create for the good of all, but you don't even have to go that far. You can just start small. You can start, owning your emotions. You can start being in touch with your emotions. You can start processing instead of bypassing, start processing. You can start feeling more empowered in yourself. You can start when you start manifesting and start creating your life, you can just create a beautiful day with your intention. You can do some affirmations. You can create a day that includes like a free cup of coffee, and you can start. You don't have to go like crazy at the beginning, and I don't even think anybody can. I mean, even if they wanted to. I was telling him he's got a way to go before he starts having the power to harm people. I just don't think he's just not there yet. And that's
Yeah,
okay. It's all unfolding in the perfect timing.
yeah, or influence an entire country like Japan, all
I
in
don't think
one
that's
day
going to
with the
happen right
power of
now.
one thought, you know.
I don't think that.
But
I think we're at very little risk of that right now when we're just starting our healing path. I think that's an
thank heaven.
unnecessary worry. So I encouraged him to get out of his head and into his heart. And I felt like he needed to start feeling rather than thinking so much because the thoughts were, what if I damage the world with my manifesting ability? And I'm like, well, let's
But
bring it
this
back
is
to the
it.
heart.
But this is it actually. This is gold because hi Monica. Because
Hi, Monica.
people get into their head, and this has been my experience as well when I started this journey. Oh, what if it doesn't work? What if I call this disaster? Last night I was
Fear.
doing
It's just fear.
last night I was doing a session in my intuitive academy on cutting cords, right? Cutting etheric cords, detrimental cords.
Very important. Yeah.
And one of the questions I got was, oh my goodness, oh, how can I cut a cord with a partner? What's happening if I want to reset? You just do, you put it back together, just like that. This is how telepathy works. It's just so powerful. But nothing bad is going to happen. If anything, when you
Bad. You're
cut a
so
cord
safe
with someone in your life that is really good for you, you just come back in a relationship with very healthy boundaries.
in
Because
a
the
better
people in
way.
your life that exactly people in your life, they want to be in your life. They want to be in your life no matter what, and they would respect you because they know that you're your own person, your own sovereign being, just as much as they are. So it comes back with more love because it turns into even more respect for each other and support for each other. But you see, that is the mind coming in all the time going, oh, what if I
Yeah.
cause a disaster in Japan with the power of a thought? Which, you can, but why would you think that you're doing something really good and all of a sudden causing a disaster in the southern hemisphere of this planet?
I know exactly. And there's so many paradoxes in the spiritual world, but like on the path, like you cut cords and you're suddenly more attractive to everyone. Like you're not going to lose anything, and you can't cut bonds of love. So you still have all your bonds of love. You just cut the unhealthy stuff, and that detachment makes you so much more attractive. It's just, it's one of those
Yeah.
paradoxes. Yeah, it's important to cut cords, definitely, and just keep your energy clear, keep it autonomous, keep it detached, keep it sovereign. And so much of that is energy hygiene, isn't it? It's spiritual hygiene. It's taking care of your auric field, protecting yourself, making sure that you clean yourself off after a long day or a lot of interaction with people. I tell my clients and students that energy hygiene is non-negotiable. If they're going to work with me, they're going to have to take the time every day to do their energy hygiene. It's so important.
Yeah, I completely agree. And that's what I said to my students. It has to be a daily practice.
Daily,
And I
if
know
not
people
once a day.
go in this state going, oh my God, no, I have to do this daily. Look, it's the same as when you go wash. This is no different than brushing your teeth. You don't even question it. You just do it because you know your body's going to benefit, your mental health is going to benefit. You're not going to stink when you go out. You know, it's just personal hygiene, and this is just part of it. Checking in with your energies in the morning, like how do you feel in the morning, the moment you get out of bed, and then take a snapshot of that, and then see how you check in with yourself. What's changed? Write it on
Hmm.
pen and paper and see what the difference is. This is just like energy healing 101,
It is,
you
and
know.
people
And
need to get used to their own energy. And part of being sovereign is being in your own energy. But how can you be in your own energy when you don't even know what it is because you've got other people's energy on you? I mean,
bingo.
energy is transferable. So if you've been around a lot of people, you've been even sometimes watching TV or be on the phone, you're interacting with people. We're interacting right now, but we both know, well, we're not sticky, but we both know that, like, we can rinse off, we can do our thing. But that's so important for people to really, really get to know their own energy. But some people are scared of that. I don't know if you've noticed that, but they're afraid of being isolated and they want to be connected to all these people. So I have to help them usually if they're a client of mine or a student to get used to that feeling of peace that you get from being in your own energy, which is priceless, but people have to get used to it sometimes.
Yes, and I completely agree about, giving people the sort of the guidance, the guidance to actually tune into their own energies, because everyone's is going to be different, right? Mine is different from yours. Yours is different from, your best friend, or, your parents. We all have a different way of tuning in. And also, the more you do this kind of work, the more you understand when your energy levels are dipping and when it's
And
time for you to
where
take a
yours
break.
begin, where yours begin and others end, you understand your own energy much better, and it does get easier, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah, because it's time to take a break. And again, you assert your sovereignty by saying, you know what, thank you very much, but I'm not going to go to this outing. I'm not going to do this activity, because I know I need to look after myself now. And
And how,
so I'm going
we
to
both do that on
forego
occasion.
this.
Yeah, we both do that, and that's just part of managing energy.
Yeah. And you stop feeling guilty about it, because you think, what's the choice? Your old self might have felt really guilty about it, because, you were getting guilted into it, shamed into it, etc., etc. And now you think, well, this is me.
Hmm.
This is
Hmm.
self-love. And
Hmm.
so it's learning. It's a learning. It doesn't come overnight, as we both know. It's a process that needs to be learned and nurtured, and it has to be done in a way that you allow yourself the time and the nurturing to actually grow into your new energy space and get to know yourself more and more.
Yeah, and it depends on so many factors. Like I know for myself, if I didn't sleep well for whatever reason, and I'm tired, I'm not going to be able to be around a lot of people because I don't have that internal strength to kind of manage all of that input, energetic input and stimulation, stimuli, I guess you could say. I need to be at my best to be in those situations, because then I can
Yeah,
just be like, okay, here's my protection, nothing's getting on me, and then I just, I do my cleansing at the end, of course, like we all do, or we should be doing. But
yeah.
yeah, you have to gauge if you're really tired. There's certain things that you get to know that you shouldn't be going to or you shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And just thinking about the people in the corporate world, there's so many women that work in the corporate world that have to be mothers. They're probably executives. You and I have both worked in this very kind of male-driven sort of corporate world, where you
Hmm.
always have to be on the go to manage different relationships and different tasks throughout the day, and that chews off your life force energy. And so, how do you manage that? How do you
Well,
find the time and the space for yourself? And this is really key,
I
sort of
do
understanding when it's
advise
time to say,
women. Okay, so lag. Go on,
oh,
finish.
yeah,
Sorry.
are we back? No, I was finished.
Okay, I have advised a lot of corporate clients on taking breaks, breathing, some well-being practices, and doing some energy management techniques. As far as the women, I think that it's so important to balance the masculine and feminine energies because, like you said, the corporate environment is so male so masculine. So I have a meditation on my YouTube channel for balancing feminine energies if anybody wants to check that out. I just think it's something, I don't mean to give people, it doesn't sound like as much as it is. These are key things that if you do them, you will feel so much better. It is so worth your time, right, Ellie? I mean, I think that that's what I would say is that these are key things. We're not giving people a million different tasks. You know, their work will feel better, they'll feel better in their space, they'll feel better in their energy if they're doing a few, energy management techniques and some feminine energy balancing techniques and some well-being practices throughout their workday. And that helps them to feel more sovereign because I don't know about you, but when I worked in a corporate job, I didn't feel like I was sovereign at all. I wasn't, you know.
No, it's truly designed, and I'm sorry to say this, but it's truly designed to take away your sovereignty. It's designed to suck your life force energy,
I was
and
just gonna say
because you're
that.
not sovereign, you're constantly depending on someone else to make decisions, and you're not aware of this, what decisions are made above you. You know, you're just being told do this. So how can you be sovereign in an environment like that?
Well, I
But
think you have.
you can.
I think
Sorry,
people
go
have to
ahead.
take. I'm out of it, thank God. But and I know you're out of it, but I don't know how this resonates, but I think like we were talking about taking well-being steps, making small decisions during your day, like I'm going to take a small nature break. If there's a park nearby, I'm going to go stand on the grass for 5 minutes, or I'm going to take some deep breaths. I've even told people to go hide in the bathroom, and go and check in with themselves. And these small steps can really help you to feel more sovereign. And then eventually, if they feel like it, they can transition to a job where they feel more empowered. I don't know how you feel about that,
Yeah,
but that would
yeah.
those would be my
There is
thoughts.
nothing more powerful than, yeah, sorry, bit of a lag. Sorry about that.
No, go
Hopefully,
on.
can you hear me? Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say, just to pick up on your point, put down your phone, you know. Oh, but I've already put down my phone. Put it down for another 5 minutes. Make that
Mhm.
sovereign decision. You know,
Mhm.
you're in that job because you have to put food on the table for your kids and your partner. You have to pay your mortgage. Fine. Put down your phone for 5 minutes. You know,
Mhm.
decide to be yourself for those 5 minutes.
Mhm.
Release that addiction to always have to check for another message, for another WhatsApp video, for another social media post that you'll feel compelled to scroll. You know, the difference in your well-being, in the way you feel in your body, the way you feel in your head is just going to be so different. Take that walk, like you were saying, Kristin, and even
Mhm.
just kind of take your eyes off the screen and just relax your eyes for a minute.
Mhm.
And also take the moment to sort of do something that actually truly relaxes you, like watching a sitcom for 15, 20
Mhm.
minutes, have a laugh. What
Mhm.
is it that makes you laugh? What is it that actually kind of makes you have that giggle?
Mhm.
So these are kind of little things that, as you were saying, people dismiss as because they think, oh, they're not big things, but they are big things because
Mhm.
it's through small steps that you get to the end of the road,
It's
but
awful.
only if you're willing to take the small steps.
Hmm. And also, I think it's huge the way people wake up and setting the intention for the day and waking up in a beautiful way where, I like to read some affirmations when I first wake up and kind of balance myself before I start the day and not grab your phone immediately, but really setting that intention for how you want your workday to go and how you want harmonious interactions with colleagues and clients and you want everything to go smooth and be joyful. Work can be fun. I mean, we're alchemists. We transmute energies and we transmute all the time. And I think that's why sometimes we get tired because we're always transmuting. But you have more to transmute, I think, in a corporate environment because there's more dense energies, but you can make it fun. You can make we can have our own personal world be fun no matter where we are. We don't have to be if your colleague or your coworker is miserable, you don't have to be miserable too. You can create your own environment at work, and I've seen people do that with success. So I think that's a good point as well.
that is the power of transmuting, that you can turn any point of darkness into being in light.
Hmm.
You know, I remember when I was in a corporate world, it was a horrible space. And then when I started sort of studying the methodologies that I use now, that's when I started transmuting the energies, and we became the family that I never had outside of my
Exactly.
family.
That's how it works.
So
That's how to do it.
anything, yeah, anything can happen if you believe that, that it can turn into something really supportive and loving. But it's
Yeah.
important to understand this power resides inside of you.
Yeah. And also
Don't
I've
throw it away
advised.
thinking,
Hmm.
yeah, don't throw it away thinking that you can't make a difference, because you are the one that can make a difference.
Exactly. And you can use things like the Ho'oponopono chant. Thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I've had clients do that towards their colleagues in workplaces, and I've seen miraculous transformations. The other thing to think about is, I'm sure you'll resonate with this, Ellie, but just when you do your energy management practices and when you are in a sovereign space, like how attractive you are to other people and how things do go so much more smoothly. Just they just do. It's just automatic. So it really is worth doing those techniques.
Yes, you start attracting people in a very powerful and unique way, because I noticed a difference with me. People started being attracted to my energies. They were saying, oh, your energy is so calming, your energy is so loving, I love your energy. And it's not that you aim for that, but you naturally become like this because of all the transmutation, all the acceptance that you do of your feelings, all the the inspiration that you draw from within of yourself, that you didn't even know was there, and then all of a sudden, boom, it leads you to do amazing things. And I'm
It's
not
just
saying that everybody has to become a therapist or a coach, but you can do this in whatever space you're in. Whether you are a business owner or whether you work for a corporate world, you can easily integrate these methodologies into your daily life and make a wonderful thing of what you do, um, for
yeah.
your 9 to 5.
It's one of the paradoxes that the more you detach and the more you focus on your own well-being and yourself and your own energies, the more magical and attractive you are to other people and the more things go well for you. It's just one of those weird paradoxes. The more you're, at the beginning, some of my clients are like, oh, I just, like they want to be merged more with other people just to feel safe or to feel this closeness, but the more they come into their own energies, the more magnetic they are. It's beautiful to watch.
Yeah, and you start magnetizing beautiful energy. This is the other thing. You start really attracting the people that drain you, and situations that actually drain you. And then, you actually start attracting people that actually support your life force energy, that are fully
Yeah,
behind you. And
yeah.
you start
And that's
attracting
what we're here
situations that
for.
actually help you leap forward.
Yeah, and this is our birthright on the planet. This is what we're here for,
Yes,
to
yes,
be
this is it.
authentically ourselves,
Absolutely. Yeah.
to be.
Unapologetically as well.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yes, absolutely. We
Yeah,
are
someone,
the human being is a human being of creation. We're here to create. And my
someone
goodness, when we tap into our heart, my goodness, we become unstoppable.
We do. We do, and we don't have to give excuses. Someone just told me recently, a very wise friend said, it feels really good to say I can't do this because of this reason, but it feels even better just to say no, I can't. And you don't have to justify yourself. I mean, you can if you want to, but taking care of yourself, staying in your sovereign energy, staying in your healthy, balanced energy, it's your birthright.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah, and the thing is, you get to a point when you start regaining your sovereignty, and that you're also get to a space where you think it's okay for me to feel like this, and I don't have to explain it to anyone else. You know, it
And
it, it
also,
just
it's okay
becomes,
if you don't like me, right? It's okay. Like you get to a point where when you're really, really in your own
yeah,
energy and you're really yourself, there are some people that they may be threatened by how light you are. They may be threatened by how radiant you are. They may not want their shadows to be seen. They may not want to risk going where you are. They're like, no, I'm fine. Or they don't gel with you for whatever reason. You know what? Hey, great. Who cares?
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I disagree with you, and that's fine.
It doesn't
You know,
matter.
God forbid, we're all going to be here to agree and disagree with each other. I mean,
It
goodness
doesn't
gracious.
matter. Yeah, it doesn't
Hi,
matter if
Eliana.
it doesn't like you. Hi there.
And it's perfectly okay. And this is truly the power of being sovereign.
Power
You
of
know,
being
think of a
sovereign.
queen. Does every one of her subjects agree with her? God forbid, no. There's always going to
And
be
it doesn't
someone that doesn't.
matter because you are the queen of
Exactly.
your life. So, do what works for you. Do what's best for you.
Exactly it. Exactly it. Because at the end of the day, someone else also has to live in your reality for 5 minutes, but you're the one that has to live in your own reality 24/7.
That's
So
such a good point.
which one are you going to choose? Are you going to choose to make someone happy for 5 or 10 minutes when you speak to them on the phone? Have you done that? Oh, great. Good boy. Good girl. Or are you actually going to please yourself 24/7? Well, not that
That's
way,
a
but you know what I mean.
that's a very good point. And it takes me into clients I've helped with people pleasing. This this problem we've all had at some point. I think everyone on the planet has been into people pleasing at one point or another. I think it's just how we're made. And yeah, me too. And you come out of it and you start to please yourself. And like you said, that's a really good point that you have to live with your own energy and what works for you. And also I think sometimes people don't understand our paths or what something will actually be like. And you have to say, sorry, it doesn't, I can't do that. And that's totally okay. Give yourself permission to do that, is what I say.
Yeah,
That's true.
and the thing is, oh, sorry, there's a bit of a lag.
No, I was finished.
Uh, uh, also, I don't know if this resonates with you. There is a difference between saying, "Oh, I don't give a toss about what you say," with, "Okay, fine, you disagree with me. That's perfectly okay." It's a different energy. There's a difference between a kind of tit for tat kind of energy and a sovereign energy. It's a totally different thing because
Hmm.
you're aware of your emotions, you're aware of your feelings, but you also respect that someone else isn't feeling the same way as you, but you're totally
Hmm.
okay with it. Whereas there's a difference when you retaliate because someone else is disagreeing with you and you become very defensive, which is kind of the old way of working, which is a very kind of a subject way of working,
Yeah.
compared to the sovereign way of managing your energies.
Hmm. I didn't grow up knowing about boundaries. We didn't really have them in my household that I saw, or I didn't have them. And I remember seeing this friend a few years ago, and whenever she set a boundary, she was so sweet. She was not that you have to be. She was like, "Oh, I'd love to do that, but I just can't." And she was so kind and so respectful, and I was like, "Oh, I love that." Like you don't have to be like, "No, no," you can honor the person. You don't, like you said, you don't have to be in an argument with them or be offended in any way. It's, you're running your kingdom, and it's not good for your kingdom. You're the queen
Yeah,
or the king.
yeah, totally love it, love it, love it. Okay, since we've, can you believe it? We've gone on for an hour and 10 minutes now. The time has just
Wow,
gone
we've
by.
talked about so many different aspects of this. I really feel like we did do it justice. I felt like we looked at it at quite a few angles.
Yeah,
Shall
it
we?
feels like a quantum live, really, because time has gone by in a heartbeat.
We're timeline jumping. All right. Well, Ellie, do you want to tell us
So,
a bit about how to work with you more?
what I have at the moment for anyone who is in London or the vicinity of London, I have an Ho'oponopono class tomorrow. It's an in-person
I didn't know it was on
masterclass.
Ho'oponopono. That came up
Yes,
today.
it is.
Yeah, how
It's
cool.
the
Sorry
heart
to
of
interrupt.
forgiveness, and it's a 2.5 hour masterclass. And again, we're going to delve deeper into the superpower of forgiveness, because the forgiveness is one of the frequencies that really opens the space of the heart.
does.
And forgiveness is really where we transmute all the negativities about the things that we think and feel. And it puts us in a place where we release the conflict that we have with ourselves. And
Mm-hmm.
consequently, we're able to kind of forge conversations and relationship with others that are more meaningful and more supportive. And the benefits that are felt at a physical level are incredible. So I'd love for you to join me. However, if you can't make it in person because you're somewhere in, I don't know, Kentucky or Japan, that's perfectly okay. You can reach me online, and I have a 30-minute exercise which is about establishing strong energetic boundaries.
Oh, wonderful.
And I'm going to show you some tricks, okay, that are not very talked about, but they actually work as a charm, literally, to get boundaries where you actually start really feeling good about who you are, about what you're sensing, and really come into your own power, your own sovereign power. So you're welcome to grab it. It's on my feed. And if you want, you can just DM me boundaries and I'll send you the link. It's called Boundaries from the Heart. And of course, you're welcome to kind of lurk around and see what I do. I have my wonderful academy, which is called the Heart of Healing Academy for Intuitive People, of which you're one of them because you're all intuitive. You just haven't tapped fully into your powers yet. But this is where we do a lot of energy healing and a lot of release work as well. And it's a loving and safe and supportive community of loving people, all there working together really to sort of harness the power of the heart, the power of our energy fields to transmute energies in all different areas of our lives. So I'd love for you to join us. And if this speaks to your heart, again, DM me with a heart and I'll send you the link and maybe we can chat about it and see how I can help you.
Okay, fantastic. And that workshop, Ellie, it's tomorrow?
The workshop is tomorrow morning. Yes, it's between 10 a.m. and 12:30
Okay,
in
wonderful.
South
In
London.
London. Okay, great. And as far as
Yes.
working with me, I have my two books. So I've got my first book here, A Practical Guide to Ascension with Archangel Metatron. My second book, which is the same title but volume two. So I've got my books you can work with. I've also got energy clearing meditation. If you sign up to my mailing list, I can send it to you. So if you want to DM me meditation, or you can go to my website, the link is in my bio, and sign up for that. I've also got ongoing, I've got an online program for breakup recovery. It's a post-energetic breakup recovery program. And we have a cord cutting ritual meditation in that, which we were talking about earlier. I've got a whole program to disconnect you energetically, help you move on from your ex if that's something you need. That's on my website. I'm really into teaching timeline jumping and manifesting right now, so I have a beginner's class starting soon. I'll probably start the next one. I don't know exactly what I'm starting at, but just message me if you're interested and I'll keep you in the loop for the next beginner's class. I have an ongoing advanced class that I teach. I also do emotional healing sessions and I do a lot of medical intuition sessions. So that's kind of all the ways to connect with me. And yeah, I think that's it. So thanks, Ellie, for taking part in this with me. It's been super fun.
Thank you so much, Kristin. This was really so much fun. And thanks everyone that tuned in, Elena, Kim, Monica, and everyone else who's going to catch the replay. And if you have any questions, again, Nancy as well. If you have any questions, you can message me, you can message Kristin. And yeah, hopefully we're going to be back and do this again soon.
Yeah,
And bring you more surprises and more to think of.
yeah, exactly. Just collaborate more. Well, I've loved it, Ellie. Thank you so much, and I hope your workshop tomorrow goes super well. I can't believe it's on Ho'oponopono. We were just talking about that. That's so funny.
Talk about being interconnected. Everything is connected, right?
Yeah, it's so funny. Fantastic. We were talking about
Thank you
boundaries and
so
give a
much.
boundary giveaway.
Yeah, exactly. Is there anything that we haven't talked about? We have to live more for the next session, for the next live, right? So
We
let's
have
not let's not talk
something
about
back.
everything now, because otherwise I'm just kidding.
All right, sweetheart. Well, it was
Thank
lovely.
you
Thank
so
you.
much, lovely.
All right, I'll talk
Bye,
to you soon. All
everyone.
right. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.